Leave this on until somebody comes on. So I thought I would do this video uh, to Canadian Gamer. Uh, I usually agree with you on a lot of things, and I actually love your content. But I have to disagree with you, man, about Arcade1ups. Um, and I only say this because I don't think you have enough insight on these cabinets or what their purpose is and why I think you're wrong. Um, I'll just show you why I kind of think I have a little more insight on this. I have a few of these, and this is kind of an early, what you would call an Arcade1up of its time, made by this big electronic company. But anyway, I've got a few, and I've got a couple more down there. And yeah, my garage is kind of a mess because I've been moving stuff out. So I'm gonna show you down here in my messy garage where I'm working on this 50-year-old EM arcade here. That is a very complicated machine. And then I have this Romstar Twin Cobra that's fully functional coin op. And I think the reason why I wanted to make this video, sorry for the mess, because I'm in the process of refinishing the artwork on this one. I think what you have to understand is that Arcade1ups fill a space for people from my generation that don't have necessarily a lot of space, and they can't really afford the real thing. And you would think, oh, well, maybe you can just go buy a regular arcade for $500-600, and you can. I mean, I paid $550 for my Twin Cobra, but it is heavy as hell. And when it first came to my place and I fired it up, the colors were all off, and it took some time to get it to work properly. And it's not cheap to fix one when they break. In fact, I've got two mechanical pinball machines, and just keeping those things up is quite a bit of work. So there's a lot of upkeep. They do work most of the time without too many problems, but in no way would I would say that they're more reliable than one of these Arcade1ups, mainly because there's a lot of moving parts. In a regular arcade, they're just very old electronics. You're talking about stuff that's really sitting around for 30-40 years. And sure, they're strong and they're fairly well made, but electronic parts fail. And unless you're really like skilled on how to maintain the electronics in an old arcade, man, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You have to be extremely patient. You have to do a lot of research. You have to understand that capacitors fail. You may have to recap the monitor. Again, I really didn't want to make this video while I'm in my garage because I just got done literally replacing the engine in my car. So my garage is just full of tools and stuff that I had to move over. But this EM arcade is very complicated. But I'll show you just to give you a sense of what you think. Oh, there's a few electronics on this. But let me open this back door here. As soon as it's hard to get behind this guy. Of course, the door is kind of hard to open at this angle. Here we go. So, let's see if I can get it to zoom in here or get the. All right, wow, it's not really focusing. Okay. So just take a second and look at this arcade. And can't really see inside too well, but these are like the coils on this one. And I got to still replace this one. I can still play it without it. But man, I'm telling you, you don't know what you're getting into when you're dealing with an arcade. And then I have this guy here, which is extremely complicated behind here. Multiple boards, multiple things that go wrong. So, yeah, and they're really big and heavy. So there's a major commitment to an arcade. And if you have never owned one of these, I'm telling you, you have no clue in what you're talking about. And the people in your comments down below clearly have no clue what they're talking about. Again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Arcade1ups. And let me show you. Whoa. Shouldn't have the music on, or I'll get in trouble with that. So, hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. All right. That one you can't see, but it's on. That one's on. That one's on. That one's on. That one's on. On. All of them work. And this one in particular was a Walmart cabinet that they put on display, and it was hammered. This ball was missing. The artwork on this was totally worn down because they didn't put the plastic covers on them. Like this one here doesn't have the cover. So after heavy use, the art starts to wear off from people's hands and oil. This was pretty scratched up, and I had to polish it, but works fine. This is my first one I ever bought. I bought this protective thing for it from them, and I updated this to have the...
Hey, what are you doing?
So, anyway, yeah, this was a piece of garbage from them. It was plastic. It didn't work very well. That was my wife wanting to know what I was doing. And I haven't played them in a little while because I've been going through some transitions in my garage here. I'm trying to make a decision whether I want to frame out a room in this into the garage and make this just kind of a big family room, which I'm kind of leaning towards. But all these work great, and I don't care what anybody has to say. The buttons work great. The switch, these sticks all work great. I've never had any issues with any of these other than this spinner, which was plastic and it didn't spin very well, so I upgraded this. And a couple of mine, the very early units, I put a dimmer right here on it, so I can adjust the brightness on it because these don't have very good LCD screens. The newer ones do. But yeah, no issues. All work great, and I love them. And I think for the money, if you shop around, you'll find good deals on them. But it's a nostalgic thing, man. It's not all about, trying to, exactly mimic a real arcade. And nobody who buys these is expecting that kind of experience. But along with that, they're not also expecting to have a massive arcade cabinet because these things are relatively light. You can move them, but with the bases on them, it makes it a lot easier, because it makes it heavier. But people saying, oh, these will warp in no time, BS, total BS. Like I said, I've had this in this garage that, it's not the driest because I have a dryer in here and it gets a little damp in here, but I haven't had any warping. I haven't had any issues with anything. None of the switches have broke. Um, yeah, people complain about these old units here and the buttons and this, but they work fine. You know, they play good. Um, I don't turn this one on when I flip the main switch because this big CRT takes a lot of power and it does not like it when you turn them all on at the same time. So I turn this one on separately. Now, that's the other thing. Each one of these units don't generate a lot of electricity. They just don't. But those big arcades, holy crap, dude, they take a ton of power. And if I had all original arcades in here, it would be it would take up more space and a lot of electricity. I would have to upgrade all of my electrical in here just to handle all of the original arcades. We're talking a lot of work. These are things that guys who just blab off the handle. Oh, I would never buy an Arcade1up. Just buy the original ones, man. Well, that's easy. I own 2 originals, and I can tell you, you're walking on pins and needles at times, wondering if that arcade's going to turn on every time. You're going to be concerned about spending $800 on a new monitor. You're going to be concerned that the power adapter, the transformer in it is going to last. You want to get into that hobby, you better have not hundreds of dollars. We're talking thousands of dollars. Now, what does it take for one of these Arcade1ups? So if this Arcade1up were to fail, it's not that expensive to repair. They have a tiny little board in the back. You can buy them anywhere online. It's usually like 50 bucks. It takes a couple minutes to take the back of these things off and put a new one in and be back in business. Sure, they don't have that many games on them like this one here. You know, it only has the 2 games on it, but you can modify them and add more games to them. A lot of guys put like emulation into them. They do all kinds of things with them. And it's just like I have this light that goes around the back of this. It glows green when I turn it all on. I built my own custom base for that one. It's just tilted off base right now. But I guess my point is that a lot of people dog these machines, and I just started hearing this is kind of a new thing that people are complaining about Arcade1ups. Like, they've been around for a while, and people are like, oh my gosh, who would buy these things? Well, I bought them because my son really was getting into the 80s thing, and he wanted to like try these, he wanted to experience that kind of life and that idea of arcades. And I just started picking these up some of them off of Craigslist. Like I said, I got this one, I said earlier, I got this one at Walmart. This was a display unit. It was trashed. It was literally hammered, and it still worked and has never given me any trouble. And this is the one I actually play the most because I love Galaga. And I had to polish the plastic on it and all that. But I had a friend over recently. He was working over here on the island, and he grew up playing Street Fighter, and he just got into this thing. He says, man, this is the only game I ever played at the arcade, and he was rocking this thing, and there was no complaining. He wasn't complaining that, oh, the controls don't work or nothing works right. Everything on it's fine. The switches work fine. So I don't really understand this whole mentality of complaining, doing videos and just complaining, especially if you don't own one. It's like a complaining, like I know, Canadian Gamer, you've made the complaint about Evercade and the VS controllers suck. Do you have a VS? Do you have a VS with its controllers? Do you use one? Because I have one and the controllers are great. It's the same thing with these. Do you own an Arcade1up? Can you honestly say, hey, these things are crap? I hear people saying that in your comments, but I don't really think these guys actually own one of these. I mean, like I said, most of my cabinets are pushing, I would say this one here I've had for definitely about 4 years, and the rest of them are probably around 3 years old. I haven't had any issues with them. I mean, they all start up, they all work. This one here is really old, I know, because they stopped making this one for a while, and I mean, more recently, this was one of the older ones, and this one was, if anything, you would think if a machine is a real piece of garbage, you know how much people play these things and beat the crap out of them at Walmart. I saw a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle I was trying to buy from Walmart. It literally had a hole through the plastic here, and I wanted to just buy it because I got this thing for a really good deal at the time. And they actually sold it to me. I was amazed because after that they would never sell me another one. And like I said, I had to replace this art and I had to replace this ball. This ball was missing, and I had to take plastic polish and polish this plastic because it was just like a total hazy, like frosted glass with scratches and everything on it. And now look at it. It doesn't look old and it still works. So what does that mean? You know, I think the thing is that you can easily get on YouTube or social media and make all these claims about stuff, but if you haven't owned it, I mean, I don't see how you can even make a sound judgment on something unless you own one and had them for a while. And that goes hand in hand. Like, have you ever owned an arcade, a real original arcade? Because like I was showing earlier, down here, mine again, my dirty garage here, this is a 50-year-old EM arcade. And like I said, I'll show you again. Those are all the coils. And I just had to order two coils for my EM pinball, and it was $50. And this one right here was hard to find. Some of the stuff is being recreated, but dude, hey Canadian Gamer, thanks for joining. But dude, I'm just telling you, you can't compare an original arcade to an Arcade1up. It's just not going to happen. I have them. These things are flipping heavy. They're a massive pain in the butt to keep up. If the capacitors wear out in that monitor, it's going to be about $800 to either replace it or recap it. Hundreds of pounds of weight. You can't just move them around. There's a lot of moving parts that can fail. This thing here is 50 years old, and it's a passion project, man. You want to get into original arcades. You just can't go, okay, hey man, just go buy an original arcade. And it's like, fuck man, trust me, dude, you do not want to buy an original arcade unless you got a lot of room, a lot of money, a lot of time. But I've got, like I said, I got 3 here. And like this one right here, I was just saying earlier, this thing here is literally a Walmart demo unit that was just hammered. This is my first one right here. And the only thing I upgraded was this. And on this one, I upgraded the dimmer on this. And yeah, they had them on Walmart. This thing was just beat to hell, man. And I got it for a deal, and it's never failed me. And this one I would say here, and my 12-in-1 here is about 4 years old. And these are probably all about 2.5 to 3 years old. I can't really remember. I got 2 more down there. And then this one, my wife bought me the Space Invaders from Kohl's. And then this one my son wanted. He bought that. I built the base. It's just, I got to build a bracket so that it won't slide around on the base. That's all solid wood. But yeah, man, I mean, I think you have to understand, like, this is for people from my generation. It's a Gen X thing. Like, we grew up with arcades, and the idea that you can even kind of mimic what you grew up doing as a kid in your house is really what it's about. It's not like, it's not, that everybody buys these knows these are not going to be identical to an original arcade. And honestly, I wouldn't want them to be, because I could probably only get about 4 comfortably original arcades in this corner here, because you're going to be moving them in and out trying to work on them. And like if you go on in my local area and just look up a new monitor, they're about $800 for an original monitor on an original arcade. Yeah, and like my old pinball machines, those things are pushing, like, they're almost 50 years old too, and those things, one of them doesn't even run. It's just a passion project. You have to be like seriously committed to those arcades. And yeah, you might find an arcade for $1,500, a nice one, and it may also fail you in a year. And then you're going to have to put it into a big truck And like my EM arcade, that thing's like 400 pounds. It's flipping heavy, man. Like, no joke. So anyway, that I just think that you got to have complete understanding all the way around with this hobby, and if you're gonna jump the gun and say something like, man, you got to kind of know, because it's like it's not for the faint of heart to get into original arcades and then go, well, let's compare them to Arcade1ups. So anyway, that's all I want to say. I still respect you, man. You're a cool dude. But that whole thing was just like hearing your video about just go down and buy an original arcade, and then like these things are garbage. And I saw some of the comments in there, and they're talking about all the boards and the wood's gonna warp and the switches are gonna fail. They don't fail. They don't have problems. They work rather well. They aren't bad. They are nowadays too expensive. I agree with that. I think they've gone way overpriced. But I bought these, like that one. There was a limited edition. The Burger Time. I paid about $500 for that, I think, and I paid $500 for the Turtles. But the rest of these, I paid probably $350. This one was on eBay, because this one was out of print, like out of production when I got it. So yeah, you pulled me out of exile. Yeah, I still want to make content, man, but I just don't have a lot of time, man. But I just thought, man, you just like trashed on something I totally love. And I'm like, this is like really for me to bring my friends over. And I collected all this crap when I bought it during COVID, and then like just before COVID, and then everybody got shut down. Nobody wanted to come over. And then my garage just turned into a big storage facility with trash and garbage. So, so yeah, I mean, I've been working on it to make it look nice, but, life and stuff happens and you get busy. But, yeah, anyway, I think they're fun. I would not pay like $600-700 for one. I don't think they're really worth that. I mean, if you have the money and you want to throw at it, sure, but I've had my nephews over here and put the stools up for them, and they're really young. They're like 6-7 years old, and they come over here and they just have a blast on these things, and they don't really compare it to anything because they're too young to understand. But anyway, I got to run. My phone's about to die, and I'm amazed it actually let me do a live stream on this. So throw a comment down below. Give me your points, what you think, and yeah, I already know what you think, Canadian gamer. Anyway, take it easy, guys.